Today on Homeworthy, we're visiting former photographer Katie DeGroot's charming Victorian home in Stillwater, Minnesota. As a mom of four with a passion for antiques and thrifting, she has infused her space with mementos of her children and collected pieces of art that feel warm and welcoming. Enjoy this special episode. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, my name is Katie. Welcome to my home in charming Stillwater, Minnesota, and this is little Penny. Welcome to my entryway. It's a pretty narrow space, but it's really beautiful. There's a couple of historical pieces of charm that I really love in this space. It's just tall ceilings, and then we keep the majority of our coats and outdoor gear in this little spot under our stairs that I'll show you. I recently revamped this area. It wasn't really working for our large family, but I've added some lower hooks for my kids, and right now it's beautiful outside, so we've just got our sun hats and rain boots, but I really enjoyed making this space a little bit more me. I was super inspired by, as always, English country style really inspires me, so I was looking at all of those built-in beautiful mudrooms that they do over there, and I wanted to emulate something similar for our home here. So I'm very happy with the way this space turned out. My grandma actually, she gave that painting to my aunt, and then my aunt passed it down to me, and she had it hanging in a similar spot in her home, and I love having it in our house. I recently added a collage wall of family photos. I just converted them to black and white and wanted to just have lots of fun memories. My boys in the snow, and then some family photos we had taken this fall, and then my baby's newborn session. Just loving using some newer frames and also some antique frames as well. Okay, and you can see that we still have our original old doors. Our doorknob is actually broken right now, but we'll get that fixed at some point. I really love all the light that comes in here, and I think our dog might be running downstairs, so he might come say hi. This is our dog, Astro. He is 100% German Shepherd. And one thing I always tell people is that Victorians used to call the German Shepherds nanny dogs, and I think it's funny that we have these 4 kids and we have this big German Shepherd. So come with me into the living room. This is where we spend a lot of our time as a family, and it is sort of like a playroom too. I try to hide my kids' toys in these old wooden boxes I find at antique stores, and we love our fireplace, have a family portrait that was taken recently above that, which I really love. So the sconces actually came with the house. The previous owners put them in, but we love them because we love candlelight. And I actually have a candle sconce on the other side that I'll show you too. This one we just found at an antique store. Sometimes we light it, but this picture actually, I did want to talk about this. My husband got that for me for Christmas a couple years ago. It's by a photographer out of New Orleans named Frank Relly, and I stumbled upon his gallery a couple years ago in the French Quarter. We love New Orleans, and I'm very inspired by New Orleans art and culture, and so of course I had to have this beautiful old church photo in our house, and I just absolutely love it. I would say that my husband, Seth, and I are both very inspired by vintage revival, and particularly English country, and then obviously Victorian style, because this is a Victorian home. I'm really drawn to, like a muted color palette personally, and I love a lot of texture, so you'll see that evident in our space. This room is definitely one that I'd like to work on a little bit more, but I love that it suits our purpose as a family, and we spend so much time in here, especially around the fireplace during the colder months. We just love to be in here together, and at Christmas time, we usually put up our tree here or in front of the bay window, and it's just really lovely. So my husband's had that map for a long, long time. We actually lived in a modern kind of condo loft before we moved here, and this was one of the pieces that still worked with this space, and our kids love to point out where we live on there. I just really like the texture and the text in it. This is actually one of my favorite photos that I've taken of my daughter. They're a couple years apart. Every Christmas I've taken a photo of her on the porch with Christmas presents, and I just love them. And even though it's not Christmas time, I still have them up year round because I just think that they're really sweet. And I've been collecting these vintage jugs and filling them with dried hydrangeas from our yard. I think they just add a lot of texture. I really like dried flowers, especially because in the winter months here, our winters can get so long, and I really enjoy having just, flowers of some sort. So even if I can't get fresh, I always have my dried hydrangeas and can look forward to spring. So it's super easy to dry hydrangeas. You just cut them, and then you can go ahead and place them into a vase that's empty, and they will dry. I know there's different methods, but that's always what I have done. And I think they're really lovely because you'll get all this sort of gradient color, and it's just such incredible texture. They are quite brittle and fragile though. So my kids have gotten into them and made a mess before, but I really do love the way that they look and the texture that they bring. We found these in a shop in the French Quarter, and yep, we knew they had to be here in our house. So I love them. They're very comfortable, and we've had them for a couple of years. They're just brown leather. I have found that with kids, leather is a good texture, good fabric to have because you can wipe it up, and even as they've aged, I feel like they look really beautiful, and I like the detail and the carving on the backs of them. I think the windows in here, and it's a rainy day today, I always say that this house feels like a jewel box when it rains, and these beautiful bay windows just sing to me. I just think they're absolutely gorgeous, and I love how they let so much light in, but you can also see the rain. Some of the panes are quite a bit older, and they have that really beautiful leaded glass look to them. I really appreciate the light that they cast in our home. So this one is a wedding portrait that was taken when Seth and I got married, and then down here is a portrait of our oldest when she was a little bit younger at our favorite place, which is a local apple orchard. We were picking apples, and I caught that picture, and I just have been obsessed with it ever since. And over here, we've got my husband, another wedding portrait. We actually got married in a historic church too, so we love the old style. And then this is our oldest back when he was a baby, and we need to get 2 more oval frames so we can update and have all 4 of our kids on the walls, but sometimes when you're the oldest kid in a family, you get to have all of your pictures up. This is our formal dining room, and this is actually the only room that works for us if we all want to sit together and eat. So we do spend quite a bit of time in here, and I love it. This room gets fabulous light. The table came with the house, but the chairs actually belong to my mom. And I have enjoyed using them and having them in my home. I love our little gingham cushions right now. We have a family piece in here. This hutch was actually handed down to us from my husband's grandmother's side of the family. And I think it dates to the 1920s, maybe the 1930s, but we are so happy to have this. It houses all of our dishes. I've kind of been collecting brown transferware. You can find it pretty easily at antique shops here. So this is my newest piece, and I love this. I love the detail inside. I think that's just so beautiful. And I'd like to collect more, but we love this hutch because it's just so practical. I keep candles up here and napkins here and tablecloths in the bottom. I have found that a lot of vintage and antique pieces are just incredibly practical and very useful, and so I enjoy using them and having them in my home. Of course, I've got my dried hydrangeas in pitchers. This pitcher actually belonged to my husband's maternal grandmother. She was a farmer and she would make coffee in this every day for her farm hands. And if you look inside, the inside is stained brown from all the coffee on her Minnesota farm. So I love having that in our house. I think it's just a nod to her. And we've got some more photos up here. I don't know why, but we loved this random buffalo taxidermy picture that our photographer took at our engagement session. And so we needed to put it in a frame. I don't even have a reason. We just love it. Another wedding portrait. And then this was taken by a very good friend of mine, a photographer here, Abby Jean Photography, when we had our second in 2020. So old chairs, and I am obsessed with candles and candlesticks. And I also find a lot of great antiques on eBay. I feel like everybody forgot about eBay but me. So I'm on there too much, and I really enjoy finding if I've got like a very specific thing in mind. Of course, I have an old high chair. I found this on Marketplace, and the woman who sold it to me was so happy to share with me that it had all this family history. It was used in her family and passed down, so we enjoy using it, of course, with supervision because it's older. My husband found this old radio, I think on First Dibs, and what's great about this is you can actually plug it into a smartphone, so we're able to play music from our playlist on it, which is really neat and kind of a fun trick. We listen exclusively to 90s music, so 90s hip hop, R&B, we listen to 90s rock. We love the 90s, so that's what we listen to. We also listen to jazz and classical too, so we're not always rocking 90s. This picture actually I took, so I'm a former photographer. Now I'm a full-time stay-at-home mother, but I took this at one of our favorite places. I think I mentioned earlier in the living room, this local apple orchard. My kids actually call it Apple Church, which I think is so cute. And I inherited this old frame from my grandmother. So I don't remember what was in here originally, but I knew I wanted to put this in our dining room. And I love that we have this photo up of the apple orchard because it's such a special place for us and for our family. This is our bar. So yeah, I mean, it's a little early for a drink, but it's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yep, and actually in here you'll notice a photo of James Castle. He is the gentleman who built this house. He came from New York and he became a state senator for Minnesota. And yeah, we love having his photo here, and I always think that he's smiling down at us. But yeah, this is our bar. We love to have dinner parties. We love to have friends over. We love to have barbecues and, hosting girlfriends or other families from church. We love it. And my husband's a great bartender. He makes a great martini for me, and then he makes a fantastic Manhattan for himself. I did paint in this room. I love the color of the walls. I describe it as like a color of a latte. And it's Benjamin Moore creek bed, and I think it looks really nice with the white beadboard and trim. I really love these plates that I have found while thrifting. I needed something for this spot, and I felt like a plate wall was the answer. So I actually found these platters at Goodwill, but then the plates were all thrifted, and I may add some more at some point. I just love that layered vintage look. I'm really inspired by that. I love history. I was a history minor in college. I love the practicality and the beauty of older things. I feel like a lot of new design is very, frankly, just like unattractive to me. So I enjoy older things, and also the cost. I mean, you can often find, at least here in the Midwest, items on Marketplace or at the thrift store or garage sales, especially now that it's summer. You can find things at garage sales for very little money. And I just really believe you don't need to spend thousands of dollars on decor. I feel like you can make a home out of really simple, beautiful, thrifted and found items. You just have to be patient. Home takes time. And so that's the hard part for me because I'm not patient at all, but I do believe in a good thrift find. And I just find that with an older home, the older pieces, I think just fit and it's more appropriate. come with me into the kitchen, obviously the heart of every home. This kitchen gets a lot of use. My husband and I both love to cook, and I enjoy baking, and my kids like to help me, so they use this tower, and I just put it up at the counter and they help me. So I enjoy these windows that look out onto our side yard. And I will say it's a little bit of a narrow kitchen, and I get frustrated sometimes because I feel like with 4 children, I don't have enough space to cook, but it's working for us for now. I like our built-in stove, and I have this little baking area right here. I've been into collecting crocks, so I find these crocks at, again, thrift stores, I'm telling you. And I just love being able to store all of my wooden utensils in them. And then recently I found this salt box. I love that there's a windmill on it. I've been saying that I'm in my windmill era. And I just keep whatever in there. I don't keep salt in there, but I love the look of that. I love brown and white transferware, obviously, but I also love blue and white transferware. I just think it's so beautiful. So I had that, and I added these hooks about a year ago just because I wanted something that was more practical for, you know, easy. I'm always needing scissors or my all-purpose spray, and I actually usually make this myself, or I will use like a Young Living product. And so it's low tox for my family because I'm trying to be low tox for the family. But I love that it's easy to grab right there. When we saw this house, we knew within minutes, we hadn't even finished the tour, that we wanted to make an offer. And like I said before, we were living in a modern condo loft. And so we sold almost all of our furniture because it didn't fit with this home. And so when we moved in, we had hardly any furniture. And so we've been bringing in pieces, either pieces that were here that the previous owner sold to us or pieces that fit us. But I will say the kitchen, especially with its very tall cabinets, did draw me in. And I love this piece. My husband found this painting, and it just makes me smile because it reminds me of cooking with my dad growing up, and just the fish and the lemons and the cherry tomatoes and the beautiful salt and the wine. And I would say for us, hospitality and hosting is really critical. And so, of course, when we have guests over, they're obviously in the living room and dining room, but we always will gather in here. I feel like everyone ends up in the kitchen. We have a little cast iron collection. My husband's quite an outdoorsman, and he likes to bring those when he's hunting and fishing. And over the years, we've just added more pieces. This is our newest, largest, and I just have to say, just get yourself a big cast iron and it'll make you really happy. And you can cook anything on cast iron. It's fantastic. I love it. And that's a great little spot for it. So my kids will use this tower, and when they're helping me, I just usually set it up right here, and they can be my little sous chefs. And we have other stools too that they help me with, but I enjoy baking. So I often will have sourdough starter on the counter, and I'll be working on bread. During the holiday season, I love to do cookies and bars, of course, because we're in Minnesota. And of course, every day I'm cooking. I mean, that's mom life, right? So I'm really grateful for this space, because even though it's maybe not as large as I would want, and it's certainly not as large as like newer kitchens, you'll see these like huge kitchens, it still serves a purpose. And I feel like there's a lot of beauty here. I like have my little windowsill and having little reminders, like my candles and my cross up there I really love. And I try to have fresh flowers too, because that's helpful when you're in a space often. And I will show you my pantry, which surprised me when we first moved in. I looked at this door and I thought, oh, I just thought it was pushed back. And no, it's an actual pantry, which isn't super organized, but we do the best that we can. So, and I keep kids' papers and whatnot over here because it's easy. So I'm grateful for that space. Let's head upstairs. I'm first gonna take you into our boys' room that's right off the stairs. This is where my sons sleep. I love this space. So We have two little boys. They're 14 months apart. They're 3 and 2 right now. My 2-year-old's still in a crib, but we're getting ready to transition him. And then we have these 2 twin beds. I love these. They came with the house. And I am in my vintage quilt era. So I found this seller on Marketplace who had all these beautiful old quilts, and I feel like every bed needs a quilt. This is a philosophy of mine. And so I found this one, which is called Irish Chain, and then this particular design is called Crown of Thorns. And I love to do layer texture, lots of pillows, duvets. I just feel like you got to have a cozy bed. So that's these two. And I found this really sweet footstool at a local antique shop called Midtown Antiques here in Stillwater. I love it. And this has just been perfect because right now I've got my older son in here, and then we'll move it over when we move my younger son into this bed. My husband actually made that cabinet in shop class in high school, and he was saving it, had it in storage. And when we moved in here, he said, this is the perfect spot, and I love it. So we've got that filled with just some family photos and old wooden toys. A friend of mine actually made those silhouettes of the boys. My oldest one on the right when he was a baby, and then my 2-year-old. I feel like age 2 is perfect to do a silhouette because they're still have that baby profile to them. It's very sweet. And then last year, I feel like pleated lampshades were all the rage, and I love them. And I kept seeing them on Etsy for, $200. And then I went to this thrift store and I bought mine for, I think, 50 cents or something. And the lady even gave me the light bulb that goes in there. So I laugh about that when I see these trends that get really expensive. I'm like, everyone just needs to come to the Midwest where stuff is cheap. So these antlers belong to my husband. We just added them. And I love just the color drenching of the walls in here. This color is called Dutch Tile Blue by Sherwin-Williams. I believe it's their historic line. They have a historic line, and I have been very happy with their paint. And then over here, I love this piece. This is actually just from Target, honestly, but this is a reproduction of a classic piece called The Grateful Poor, and it reminds me so much of the Daily Bread painting that people seem to really love right now, of the old man praying. But this really spoke to me and to my heritage, so I had to add it to our home. I love it. My son enjoys it too, who sleeps in this crib. Over here is their dresser, and this I also found on Marketplace, and the woman who sold that to me shared with me that it had been passed down in her family and originally purchased in Chicago. And then this obnoxious goose lamp just cracks me up. I don't know why. I just think it's just so funny and silly. My boys love it. They get a kick out of it. So we've got that against that beautiful old etching picture, which I've had up here for a little while. I just think it's really peaceful. And over here, I have little shelves, and I've got these samplers of my sons that have their birthday details, and then just some photos of when I was expecting our second. And then I love that photo of my second eating a peach. He just cracks me up. And then my little brother's down there, and then a newborn session of when my second son was born. And I really wanted, our painter painted the shelves too, because I wanted it to feel very much like a built-in, color-drenched, even our radiator. I love that style right now. And with our, just very simple linen curtain panels, I just thought it would be like an elegant and peaceful space. I would say for me, peaceful is always the vibe that I'm going for. And oh, I have to share this with you too, because this is so cute. I mean, hello. The Timberwolves are doing very well right now. So we have to have a basketball, over the door basketball hoop in every little boy's room. So I love how that looks, even though it's not part of the vintage aesthetic. It's perfect for my sons. Yeah, so this crib is actually new, but it looks vintage. And with cribs, I love the look of vintage cribs, but I'm just personally not comfortable using them. So I always get new cribs for my babies. But it's iron and it's gorgeous. My my in-laws got it for us when we were expecting our first. And so it's worked really well for our family, but I'll be sad when we have to pack it away and take it down. This is my oldest daughter's bedroom. So she gets her own room because she's the queen of the family. We have two queens, my oldest daughter and my youngest daughter, but they get their own rooms. But we have two beds in here because she likes to have a spot for when grandma comes to visit. We love this space. It definitely has been challenging to decorate in here because of the size. But I have found a way, I think, to make it cozy. So added printed curtains, which was definitely a big move for me as a neutral girly, but I like these and I think they look really sweet in the space. I did color drenching on the walls in here too, because I wanted, again, that really beautiful saturated, very just sort of like almost neutral flat color application. And I love the way it turned out. These beds we actually, again, found at Marketplace and we plan to sand them down. But like with the boys, I really enjoy doing layers for bedding. So we've got these quilts, which are actually new, but the duvet covers I found on eBay. So they're Rachel Asheville Shabby Chic for Target, which was the first like home decor design brand I remember really loving. Back when I was in college, I've always been drawn to vintage revival style and like Laura Ashley and Victorian magazine as a kid. Old Ralph Lauren too from the 90s is just like chef's kiss perfection. But I also loved this Rachel Asheville line. And so when I found these on eBay, I was so happy to have them for my daughter's bedroom. And these pictures actually came from a friend of mine from college. Her mom had them in their home for many, many years. And they're just old Currier and Ives prints. We've got a spring and an autumn, which I think is so sweet. And those colors, I do feel really are prevalent in this bedroom. Recently, we found this dresser. It's an antique dresser, but it was purchased at a shop where they had done all of the work to it. And then I had this hook and shelf made just on Etsy and had that painted as well. And I love just changing it up. It's just a nice space to display things. I actually made this quilt for my daughter when she was a baby. During the pandemic, I took just this is all vintage fabric, and it's not perfect, and a more, skilled quilter would look at this and say, not great, but I was really proud to make it for her, and I embroidered a little note on it too. Let's see if I can find that, a little heart. It says, "Love Mama, January of 2020. So I made that for her, and I usually hang that up there because I just love it, and I'm proud of that. And I have not made any quilts for any of my other kids, but I'll get there. This piece is really special. So this is called I believe it's called a schifferrobe. These old armoires, cabinets, I just think they're, again, so practical. So my daughter keeps her dress up clothes in here and then all kinds of stuff in the drawers. But I love the mirror, and we've got all of our old Beatrix Potter, and I have another photo of her that I'll take down and show you. This was taken again at our favorite apple orchard. This is from our last family session, and I love it. I'm also into collecting for my kids these like little wooden animals. I just think they're really sweet. So we've got that up here. And then this book was actually mine when I was little, and I remember loving the illustrations. It's called the Book of Wishes and Wishmaking, but it was part of an old library. And the funny thing is it says Worthington Public Library in Worthington, Ohio, but my husband is actually from Worthington, Minnesota. So I just feel like it's interesting, the coincidences of life. So I love that and have that up here for her. She really enjoys having a spot to put all of her stuff, which is fun. But yeah, this room, such a joy. And I would say my kids play 90% of the time in here because we keep a lot of toys in the closet, and we've got her dollhouse out, of course. And beautiful bay windows, so she gets tons of light in here at this little table and chairs. This table actually was my husband's when he was little, and I painted it, another 2020 project, and now it's perfect in here. And I just think it's very sweet and same color as the walls. I color matched Farrow and Ball's calamine. I just really love that. Very soft, pale pink. I'd say everything's pretty durable, and it's also like not precious, right? Like a lot of things are older, and like sometimes there'll be scratches on the table and I'll just repaint them. But I often, again, I just thrift everything. And so if something does break, it's not a big deal. And I try not to have too much of an attachment to any material goods because it's just not important. Okay, welcome to our laundry room. It is very small but mighty. I had to show my space. I'm very proud of it. So I just put a drying rack here up on my counter, and I've got all my laundry stuff. I've become, as a mom, an expert stain remover, which is not a skill that I thought I would be bragging about, but here we are. Love my thrifted and locally made laundry baskets. People ask me all the time where this is from. It's from Toxie Free here in Stillwater. And then I keep a basket in here for clothes that my kids have outgrown, and then I keep a basket of shoes. So it's super convenient if I'm trying to pull something out because somebody's ready to grow into a size, or I want to lend some clothes to a friend. And I would love to, add a curtain in here and change some things, but I really appreciate this small but very purposeful space. I think the beadboard on the wall is really charming, and I love that we've got a view of the outside. It's very peaceful in here, even though it's where I do a lot of work. It's still really lovely. I would say peace is always my goal for decor and for life in general. Like the pursuit of peace and beauty are really important to me. They're intertwined. I feel like home should be a refuge from the world. It should be a place where we feel comfortable. And I want to create that always for my family, especially my children. I want them to have memories of home being very peaceful, even though we have a lot of small children. And of course, things are chaotic and loud. I'm always striving for peace. And that's partially why I choose the color palette that I do and the textures, because I need it. And I feel like my kids need it and the world needs it. Okay, we're gonna head upstairs to our main bedroom and bathroom. Welcome to our main bedroom. We love it up here. This is like our little sanctuary. The funny story is this is a king size bed, but that was a very narrow staircase. And we actually bought one of those mattresses in a box. And that's the only reason why we have a king size bed up here. We did have to chop the headboard in half and kind of piece it back together. But we were able to make it work. I don't know how we'd ever get it out of here, but I love this space and I love having a king. These shams are vintage Ralph Lauren. I have just been so drawn to their fabric. It kind of reminds me of Sanderson prints. They're just beautiful to me, so I really love having that. And linen bedding, of course. The dressers in here are actually antiques that came with the home, so we kept them up here because we just love them. So there's this one. This is mostly my husband's. I keep some things up here. And then this is mine over here. And so I've had all 4 of my babies out of hospital. My oldest was born at a freestanding birth center in Minneapolis called Roots. And then I've had the rest of my children here at home. And my boys were born downstairs, but I actually had my youngest, Penny, right over here. So every time I step out of my bed, I remember that day. So it's just kind of funny and crazy to think about that. It was a great memory. When we've had little babies, they always sleep right here by our window. This bassinet was actually a gift from a very good friend of my husband's who is from Ghana, and she unfortunately passed away from cancer a couple years ago, but I think she would love to know that we have used that bassinet for 4 babies. This is a picture that our engagement photographer took of us. That was taken in St. Paul. I love that picture and just makes me so happy to look at that. I just love it. Believe it or not, this chair was found at another thrift store. So the Habitat for Humanity, they have a thrift store. And I used to volunteer with them. And so I got a discount, which is amazing. So I bought this chair there at their resale shop. And And I love it. I love the fabric on it. I love the tufting. It used to sit in our daughter's nursery years ago, which is a lot of fun. But let me take you into our main bathroom because it is lovely. So this is our main bathroom. We are so grateful to have a bathroom up here and shower and tub. It's just really wonderful. It feels very luxurious. These flowers actually, so I made this bouquet for myself on my due date before I had my baby, and then I just let them dry. And I love the way they look. I'm gonna keep them here for a long time. So I think they add kind of some fun texture to the space. I remember looking at them when I was in labor thinking, I wish this was over and I was done being pregnant. And now I have them up and I can enjoy them. They're just gorgeous. But my husband has a sink, of course, and I do. And I just really love the beadboard ceiling. I think it's just beautiful. And all of the points, like the triangle up here and then the triangle in the shower. Well, these came with the house. There's a couple that we've added, and I just think they make the space look a little bit larger. And it's nice too, because when my kids are in here, I can see them and I can see what they're up to, which is very helpful. And because the sinks are so low, it's nice to have these wall mirrors, because I wouldn't be able to see myself in this lower mirror and do my hair, which would not be good. We knew this was going to be the main suite, and we love it because definitely we need to have our own time and breaks from the kids. And so it just feels really peaceful to be up here. And I love it because it does feel like we're just kind of a world away, especially with the windows. I love these windows with the plantation shutters. I think they just are very charming, and the way the ceiling comes together is just very romantic to me. Well, come into my nursery. This is where our little baby stays, our daughter Penny. She's smiling. Yeah, hi honey. Do you have a good nap? She just is waking up from a nap. Yeah, baby. Is she? Yeah, trying to figure out what's going on. So this used to be actually our guest room. Hi, baby girl. Yeah. I love this room so much. It is my favorite room in the house. I did add the wallpaper, and it's new. It's peel and stick, but what I love about it is the company, it's called Love versus Design. They allow you to customize the colors. And so I wanted to do a little bit more of a muted, almost antique look. And I found that through Love versus Design, and I had a lot of fun putting up all the paper in here. The crib, new, but it looks old. We actually did find this dresser on Marketplace, of course, and my husband last year for Mother's Day stripped it and sanded it down. I love these details. And so this has been in here since I was pregnant, waiting for little Miss Penny to arrive. You're so smiley. I love our row of hooks. I'm just obsessed with peg rails and hooks. And this bunny picture, it's actually public domain art. So you can find a lot of public domain art that you can reproduce for personal use online. And I added this antique portrait because it's got a couple of kids in it. And I feel like that mom sometimes. I'm like, what are my kids doing? And they're like, the boys are down the lane. It just cracks me up. I love that this room has all these windows in it. I found this antique cradle. I just had to have it, mostly for taking photos. And then this piece, actually, a coworker of mine gave this to me. This was in her son's room for many years. I always admired it. And one day she asked me if I wanted it, and I said yes. And her dad bought it at a Salvation Army back in the 70s, I think for like $1.25 or something. It's so silly. It's just incredible to me. But I use this. I keep a lot of Penny's like sheets in here, and obviously an old pot. I should do more gardening. But I love it. I store all of her clothing, not in that other dresser. But over here, I've got a shelf that I found again, on Marketplace. I just wanted something to put up to display things. I made this for Penny when I was expecting, so it's a little cross stitch just from a kit. I wanted to have it, and then she's got a silhouette too, and then this is her little handprint from Christmas time. Remember when you made that? And then keep a lot of stuff like sleep sacks in here, storage. And then over here is the closet. It's really fun because I've got a vintage playpen in there just for decor, and I've got all her clothes, and I love how that little space turned out. I had a vision of just a beautiful, feminine, sweet, soft space. After having 2 little boys, we were so excited to find out that we were having a little girl, and I just knew she had to have like the most feminine, sweet little bedroom, and it really seems to match her personality, which is really fun. She's just a very sweet, cuddly mama's girl baby. What does home mean to me? Home to me is the feeling that I get when I walk in the door of peace and joy. Home is, of course, family and the people who I get to share these 4 walls with. My husband, who I love dearly, and then these 4 kids who are just such a blessing. So that is home to me. It's peace and family.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.